Alright, everyone, I am back. We are continuing on with Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker here. We just spoke to Matsya here, who recommended that we speak to some of the people here in town. Let's speak to Kanga first. You wish to know about our gods? What a curious visitor you are. Most want fish. In any case, I'm happy to oblige. Now, I don't know how it is whence you hail, but our isle is home to many gods. They can be divided into two groups: the Matsya, who of beings of wisdom who assume the form of men, and the Murga, beings who might assume the form of beasts. Together they are divinities, their forms and personalities many and varied. Some are kind and gentle, others stern and temperamental, just like we mortals can be. All are possessed of great insight and experience, and by heeding their teachings we strive to be better people and live better lives. Alright. And then the other person is over here, it looks like. Interested in learning about our gods, you say? Heh, that's what I like to hear. Prick up your ears then and listen. In ancient times, the Matsya and the Murga deities, who look like men and beasts, respectively, were locked in conflict. Eventually, seeking the wisdom of the Matsya, the Murga cast aside their own heads and took up those of their foes. Likewise, the Matsya coveted the might of the Murga, and so they too resolved to trade heads. Thus were born new gods possessed of both might and wisdom, and they ushered in an age of harmony between the two factions. From then on, as a sign of their esteem for one another, the Matsya have worn animal faces and the Murga the limbs of men. So they traded heads. There you are. Learned a thing or two about our gods, I trust? While you were off talking to the others, I remembered something that may be of interest. If you could let your friends know, I'll go and fetch it from my home at once. To be honest, I'm not even certain what the origins of that might have been in the first place. Apologies for the wait. I wish to show you this hanging scroll which depicts three of our most revered deities. Is this gonna be the Mega Sisters? By all means, we should like to see it. Yep, Mega Sisters. They are Matsya. You heard about them already, yes? 3 sisters. The center one is the eldest, Cinderuva, a goddess of wisdom. For this, alchemists hold her in the highest. To her right is the middle sister, Sandaruva. As a goddess of wealth, she counts many traders among her followers. And the left is Mindaruva, the youngest sibling. She presides over the crafts, and so is beloved by weavers. Although each is worshipped for different reasons, the sisters are usually portrayed together in these works, which people keep in their homes for good fortune. In like fashion to the Matsya, the deities of Eorzea preside over myriad aspects of life. And what of the Murga, if I may ask? The Murga hold power over nature. In ages past, they were revered as guardian deities in times of conflict. If you have a occasion to visit our temples and ruins, you'll find their images there. Among them is a god who possesses a Gaja's head, and he is venerated as the progenitor of the Arcasodra. And then there are dragons. They occupy a special place in our history. You worship dragons too? It is said that an ancestor of the satrap, that's the ruler of Radz-at-Han, forged a covenant with a dragon divinity in ancient times. Ah, so is this where Astidian is going to meet Vitra? This divinity has since acted as the guardian deity of the satrap. Legend holds that if ever the satrap is in need, his dragon ally will fly to his aid. Dragon ally. You claim to be a terrible storyteller, but nothing could be further from the truth. The passion you bear for your faith is plain to hear. I am confident that the information you've given us will serve us well in our efforts to deal with the tower. That is very kind of you to say. Thank you. I will pray for your success. Right, I believe it's time we sought out Kryle's acquaintance. An alchemist by the name of Nidhana. According to Kryle's notes, we're to find her at a place called the Great Work, further north along the coast. Did you say you're going to see Nidhana? Oh, how I envy you. She's brilliant and beautiful, kind and understanding. And did I say she's beautiful? I could stare at her dainty ears and adorable trunk all day. And those eyes. When you meet her, take care you don't drown in them. Alright, we're off. This is a pretty big area, just based on the map here. Apparently there's an aether current to the east here. I guess I can't easily get to it right now then. With the land being split like that. It looks like this would be the Great Work. With this being the entrance. I have an aetherite to attune to here. Yeah, I kind of, although I think that's more intended to be a proper name for what they call, I don't know, whatever this town is here. Anyway, elephant on the ground. And others. I suppose dead in this case. Or not.
What happened here?
Their dress marks them as alchemists. I see no evidence of injury or poison.
Thinkest thou they but slumber?
I believe so. Whether it is by choice is another question entirely.
Oh, we have guests. You must excuse the poor welcome. Long days and longer nights have taken their toll, as you can see. I am Vashan, servant to the satrap. My task was, in fact, to wake these good men and women, if you will allow. People of the great work, I come bearing new scales.
Scales? We have new scales?
Yes, my friends.
Yep.
Gather round. I have them right here.
Oh, happy day. Now I can continue my experiment.
Many thanks.
One for me.
Those are dragon scales.
Yes, such materials are vital to their most pressing research.
And we are fortunate to have them. Our experiments are so close to bearing fruit. Soon we will have a talisman capable of nullifying the etheric emissions from that accursed tower.
I guess they ran out of scales and now they got more scales in order to continue their experiments.
Did I say something wrong? Are you not here with Varshan? Wait, who are you people? Of course! You're the one Kryl sent. The warrior of light we've been waiting for.
Ah, this is a day of celebration. Praise be to Cinderova!
The winds have shifted. I feel it. The end to our toil is near.
I feel it too. My head hasn't been this clear in days.
Tell me, how did you acquire those scales?
Curious that it concerns you so. But worry not. They were freely given by the dragon with whom our satrap has forged a lawful pact.
That is well.
You must be quite familiar with Dragon King, yes?
Is this their congealed blood I see on your weapon?
Speaking of dragon blood, you yourself have been infused with it, have you not? I should like to draw a file or two, if so.
Now, see here.
Come along, come along. I must insist that you visit our laboratory.
And he's
Cease
taken.
your shoving, or so help me.
Oh dear, your poor companion. What with the new scales and your timely arrival, my colleagues are a little giddy with excitement.
Yeah, if only the weather wasn't so bad right now.
No harm will come to him, I promise. Meanwhile, shall we find a quiet place to talk? As you may have guessed, I am Nidana, the alchemist who sent the request to your Mistress Kryl. We have workshops across the nation collaborating on this research project. But it is here, at the Great Work, where I collate our results. Come with me, all of you, and I can explain the crux of the situation.
Alright, I'll grab the porter here, and let's see. Nothing else has opened up, so continuing on. I guess we're gonna have to head across the bridge. Actually, if you weren't aware, the Manderville man did actually show up back in Shadowbringers, in the 3.3 dungeon. It was a rare occurrence for him to show up, but he does show up there. Allow me to thank you for answering our call. Many towers have appeared around the world, and we are grateful that you would assist us with ours. Though Kryl herself is tied up with another investigation, Prince is an eminently capable substitute, and we will spare no effort to aid you. So, if I understand correctly, you seek to make talismans that can nullify etheric emissions. Indeed we do. As you know, the tower emits vast concentrations of ether. One cannot go anywhere near it without being tempered. As such, we can only study the tower from afar, and are powerless to deal with it in any consequential way. In order to strike back, the satrap bade us alchemists create enchanted talismans that allow our soldiers to venture into the tower, even should they lack innate protection. Would such a thing be possible? Admittedly, we are still in the midst of testing, but we are quite confident. Even prior to this, our people have long pursued countermeasures against the etheric corruption of primals. Of the methods tested to date, those utilizing dragon scales proved the most promising. Owing to their etheric density, the scales are highly resistant to disruptive forces. The mightier the dragon, the greater the resistance. We seek to amplify this protective property through our alchemy. Thanks to the scales provided by His Excellency, we've been able to make steady progress with the talisman. Soon we will be ready to conduct a field test, and here's where you and your blessing of light come in. You know, though it isn't really of the moment here, I'm kind of wondering, did they happen to receive a porksy at some point? To help with anybody that got tempered during testing? I don't know, just a thought. Better than having my blood drawn, I suppose. Perhaps so, and knowing my colleagues, they won't be satisfied with blood alone. But as for your task, we only ask that you serve as an escort. I will explain in greater detail later, but you will be venturing into the tower's field of influence. And so, for your own safety, I would first test how well your blessing shields you. With your permission, of course. In that case, Oriange and I will find other ways to make ourselves useful, seeing as you all work to the point of collapse. I suspect you could do with more hands. We would be grateful for any assistance you can provide. If you are ready, then, let us put your blessing to the proof. If you exit the Great Work and turn south, there will be a hill to the right. I will meet you atop after seeing to some preparations. Yeah, it should be the echo that protects, so I'm not quite sure myself. Alright, so we need to head to the top of a hill. Here we are. You see a lantern designed in the local style. A drunken Deepa. Okay. I hope you didn't have trouble finding this place, or climbing the hill. Not all are accustomed to the physical strain. I give you the fruit of our sweat, tears, and many a sleepless night. The drunken Deepa. A Deepa is a lantern presented to the gods as an offering. Taking inspiration from the tradition, we created this device to test the talisman's efficacy. Upon activation, it will move a certain distance before emitting a powerful blast of ether. In lieu of corruption, those lacking sufficient protection will experience severe aether sickness. For your test, you will be exposed 4 times. That should be enough to ascertain your blessing's protective capability. Please begin whenever you are ready. I shall be observing from a safe distance. Alrighty then. Commencing etheric exposure testing. Repeat, commencing etheric exposure testing. Retreat to a safe distance if you are not the subject. Follow the drunken Deepa's lead and try not to fall behind. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to swap to something else here for this one. How about White Mage for a moment? Readying ether, please stand back. Oh, it actually needs me to stand back. Okay. You're struck by a powerful blast of ether, but suffer no ill effects. Alright. Subject has no irrepressible urge to empty their stomach. Confirmed, resuming testing. Please follow. And the only reason I really switched here was because I kind of want to share the experience, since this is still level 80 content here. Alright, here we go again. You're struck by another powerful blast of ether, but suffer no ill effects. Subject stomach and bowel integrity holding. Confirmed. Resuming test. Please follow. You are struck by yet another powerful blast of ether, but suffer no ill effects. The blessing of light appears to be keeping you safe from harm. Subject fortitude rated. Impressive. No irregularities confirmed. Resuming test. Please follow and brace for final discharge. You are struck by the strongest blast of ether yet, but survive completely unscathed. Etheric exposure testing concluded. Please collect and deliver me to the supervising alchemist. Alright, let's grab it. Congratulations on retaining your composure and your humors. Alrighty. Ah, you've returned, and not on your knees. A promising sign, but come, let me take the Deepa off your hands. Having exhausted all of its ether, the drunken Deepa is now having a well-earned rest. Thank you, I shall replenish its ether for when we test the talisman. So no dizziness or nausea or anything of the sort? You're feeling perfectly fine? And the strength of your blessing is beyond doubt. There's no risk that the tower will corrupt your ether. With this, we can request your aid for the task ahead with easy hearts. You are a capable warrior too, are you not? Would you be amenable to assisting me with another errand? You see, our talisman requires the use of a special ink, but we have exhausted our stores of a key ingredient for it, spirit weed. The herb grows not far from here, and I would like to go and harvest some. With the recent spat of kidnappings, however, we Arcasadora travel alone at our own peril. Will you not come with me as my escort? I would compensate you for your troubles, of course. I'm in your debt. Without further ado, let us head to Kajaya Footstep. It is situated on the road which runs east from the Great Work. Alright. Out to the east we go! I may simply be imagining it, but I feel as though we're being followed. Look out, Prince! And indeed. Gods, but that gave me a fright. To think that the moment I ventured outside the safety of the work. Thank the sisters I asked you to come with me. You're alright, I hope? Good, good. Let's continue on, then. It isn't far now. Just through these pillars and up the rise. Hey, Krabados, how you doing today? And here we are. Kajaya's footstep. Kajaya was a great dancer, and those who follow in her, well, you know, they come to this place to train and dedicate their dance to their ancestors. A happy benefit of this is that spirit weed grows here in abundance, and I will set about harvesting at once, if you would be so good as to stand guard. The kidnappers aren't like to return soon, but better safe than sorry.
Yes, that would be Radz-at-Han. Hardly anyone has been allowed in or out since our troubles with the tower began. The faithful citizens huddle inside the city walls, and commerce has all but ground to a standstill. I pity the satrap, the trials he must be facing.
What can you tell me of the satrap?
Well, he is the most important person in Radz-at-Han. Long ago, this island was home to two tribes of Matanga, the Gajasura and the Arkasodra. When the Aura came to these shores, it was the Arkasodra with whom they joined forces. Together they defeated the warlike Gajasura, forcing them to flee Thavnarian altogether.
And if I remember correctly, they ended up on the Azim steppe.
Peace and prosperity reigned for a time, until a clan of Hjor from the mainland decided they wanted the island for themselves. It was a direct ancestor of the present satrap who arbitrated that conflict and welded the warring factions into the nation we know today. And ever since, a member of that esteemed lineage has inherited this somewhat unique position. You see, by and large, the state is run by the people. But when problems arise, it is the satrap who mediates a solution. The stability provided by the satrap is what has allowed Radz-at-Han to thrive all these years. And it was the satrap himself who entrusted us with this duty. We will not fail him, nor our countrymen.
What is the delay with the vessel? I told you I need to adjust those ratios.
I come all this way to admire one of my splendid towers, and what do I find? Fools attempting to ward off its tempering influence with magic trinkets. I seem to recall a similar experiment in ages past. What was that man's name? Oh, something. Owen?
Another body, another time. Who could be expected to remember every trivial detail?
Allowing them to construct such handy talismans would be counterproductive to my plans. And yet, I find myself deathly curious. How will they manage this feat with the limited knowledge and resources at their disposal? Complications be damned, for we cannot escape the nature of our souls. And I, as ever, am my own worst enemy.
So, found Daniel is in town. I have enough spirit weed to last us a good while. Thank you for keeping watch. Let us head back to the great work, shall we? Prince, my thanks again for your assistance. With your help, we're that little bit closer to completing our talisman. This isn't much, but please accept it as a token of my gratitude. Alright, I think that's enough experience sharing for now. If you'll excuse me, I shall return to my work on the talisman. Ah, you are both back. Excellent. I have a message for you, Mistress Nidana. It would seem our stores of giant skull are running low. What? But when I last looked, there was still plenty. I suspect that was before Urianger told everyone about their tempering cure. And Estinian shared his knowledge of dragons. Your peers have since been inspired to fashion a number of new talisman prototypes. I see. Well, if it leads to new possibilities, then far be it from me to complain. But we will need to replenish our stores. I should be happy to tend to this if you like. As much as I appreciate the offer, my dear boy, I can't in good conscience send you out there alone while kidnappers are at large. Prince, loath though I am to press another task on you so soon, might I ask you to fetch the giant skull? In case you're not familiar, giant skull is a type of ore found on the island. Owing to its hardness and ethereal conductivity, it has applications in many disciplines, alchemy not least of all. The quarry where it is found, aptly named Giant Skull Grounds, isn't far away, so it shouldn't take much of your time. May we impose on you once more? Don't worry about it. Thank you. Upon arriving at the grounds, please seek out a man named Zenuya. He will furnish you with the ore. At the very least, permit me to accompany you. It so happens I have an errand of my own that will take me to the outpost nearby. May we borrow a pair of Hamsa, Mr. Nihana? By all means. Do try to be patient with them. Those that survived are still in training. I will bring the Hamsa to the entrance. Meet me there when you are ready. Alright, so I see another quest with a plus marker on that. That's probably going to be for Aether Current. Here are our Hamsa, Prince. If the creatures look familiar, it is because they are close kin to your Eorzean dodos. Hamsa have long been kept as livestock in Thavnarian, and many a hatchery may be found here. Alas, the largest of these were recently raised by monsters from the tower. On account of said hatchery being situated near the tower, the Radiant Host repurposed its remnants as an outpost. That is where my errand takes me, and your own destination is but a stone's throw away. If you have no objections, let us first make for the outpost. We set forth at your word. You are ready? Then let us depart. You need only ride and relax. My bird and I will take the lead for yours to follow. Alright, let's travel to the outpost. Let us be off. If you haven't ridden dodos before, be warned that they have a bit of a wobbling gait. That spectacular formation stretching out over the water. Okay, that is really fast. And I can't get the text of that. But sort of a similar note on that. That looks sort of like a formation that we can actually see in the Ritem region back over in PSO2 New Genesis. Yep, that's another... Alright, I'm going to make further adjustments here. Alright, sorry, but if your account is new, you may not be able to chat unless you verify your email and phone. And here we are, manned by the Radiant Host. This outpost is our first line of defense against the tower. Well, well, who should it be but young Varshan? On an errand for the satrap? I am. His Excellency bade me come to collect your report. He also wished to express his heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women of the Radiant Host for their unflagging dedication. We simply do our duty, but we are honored to receive His Excellency's regard. And yet, for his boundless benevolence, his treatment of one so young could be regarded as callous. Though we have enjoyed relative peace and calm these past few days, this remains the front line of battle. No place for children. Your predecessor, too, often traveled alone. It's been, what, 2 years now since you took over? I wonder how the fellow is faring. Like those before him, he went on to represent the satrap in foreign lands. Wherever he may be now, I am certain he is well. As for myself, I assure you that all I do of my own volition, and gladly. I pray you do not think ill of His Excellency. Certainly not, lad. Whatever happens, my faith in the satrap is unwavering, but still I worry for you. We would be overcome with sadness if something were to befall you, for you are as a little brother to us all. Take care, do you hear? I will, Nabadin. Thank you. And who might this be? Not Hanish by the look of him. Permit me to introduce PrinceBrightstar, of the Eorzean contingent, come to assist in the making of the talisman. From Eorzea, you say? Towers have appeared over there too, yes? Tell me, what is the situation like? May I suggest that you exchange information with our soldiers? Both parties would stand to learn something of value, I believe. An excellent idea. Given the unprecedented nature of the threats, some of ours are understandably anxious. We would be glad for any tidings you can share. You two, bring Varshan the latest report, and answer any questions he may have. Alright. I've heard about you, the visitor from Eorzea. Is there anything you can tell us about the Tillerfroi? We know that they're the ones behind the tower, and that they've declared war on the whole world. But why are they doing this? What is it that they want? This we don't understand. What? They want to die, and take everyone with them? What madness is this? Well, you can bet that we won't let those bastards have their way. We'll fight them with everything we have, like our Eorzean and Far Eastern brothers. It occurs to me I have yet to properly introduce our company. We are the Radiant Host, a military order under the Satrap's command. Our duty is to preserve peace in the land, be it patrolling the streets or dealing with heretofore unknown threats such as now. We train hard, and admit only capable warriors to our ranks. Even so, we've struggled to contend with the fiends from the tower. Though we succeeded in striking them down on the 2 occasions they came in force, we had to pay a heavy price. What are the towers in Eorzea? Do they likewise spawn monsters? So it's much the same everywhere. With every nation struggling, we cannot expect calls for outside aid to be answered. You wish to know about the tower? To be honest, we know little and less about it ourselves. This Tower of Zot, as folk have taken to calling it, suddenly appeared where it did on the Isle of Nerunair. We're safe from its influence at this distance, but go too far into the water, and you'll expose yourself to its corrupting ether. You're a foreigner, aren't you? How are they dealing with the tower in your homeland? Our struggles are not unique. Then our hopes still lie with the talismans. We must keep the monsters contained until they're ready. Finished speaking with the soldiers, have you? I hope it was as enlightening for you as it was for them. As a neutral nation and trading hub both, Radz-at-Han ordinarily receives a steady stream of news from abroad. Alas, this stream dried up when trading vessels stopped coming. Amidst the dearth of information, everyone will have been grateful for your account. But come, you had best see to your original errand, as mine will keep me here a while longer. However, I'm afraid I cannot guide you the rest of the way. Worry not, the path is straightforward. You need but follow the road east. Upon the Hamsa, you will arrive before you know it. Brief though it was, I enjoyed our time together. Till we meet again. Alright, let us remount the Hamsa. Though the Hamsa appears to want to return home, it reluctantly offers you its back. Should you become separated from your steed, speak with the Radiant Beastkeeper at the Hamsa hatchery to mount it again. Alrighty. Alright, so we need to head for the Giant's Goal, which is all the way over there. Alright. We have an ether current here. And with that, we need to flap back down. Alright, let's try that again. And there's one of my hunt targets, but I can't go for it right now. Because apparently I need to keep this thing all the way to the end. Hello, what do we have here? This must be the quarry, then. No sooner do you arrive at your destination than the Hamsa dashes off. Aye, this is indeed the Giant Skull grounds, and I am Zenuha. Is there something you require? Giant Skull for the alchemist, you say? But of course they shall have it. They labor tirelessly to deal with the tower, and 'tis the least we can do to provide them with the materials they need. Here you are, a sack of the purest Giant Skull. We always set some aside for our alchemist friends. When you deliver it, let the good folk of the Great Work know that we're grateful for their efforts. If they need more, they need but ask. Alright, so since I just saw it, I definitely do want to take out that target. And see if I can find any others around. I don't know what it is, but this musical theme sounds kind of familiar. Ah, there we go. This was an interesting change that they made to Paladin, the fact that they have the cost of these spells. Alright, 3 sacks of nuts and some experience. Back to the Great Work. Welcome back, Prince. I hope you have the giant skull. Let us hand it over. Oh my, such fine specimens. Thank you so much for bringing these. We now have everything we need to make our next prototype, one that should be capable of passing our most rigorous tests. When it is ready, it will be time for the true test, so please take your ease while you can.
I see our taskmasters have allowed you a moment's respite as well. You have to hand it to these alchemists. They are determined to see this endeavor of theirs succeed. I've never been one for blind optimism, but I sincerely get the sense they're close to a breakthrough.
They had better be, or all this effort was for naught.
The peoples of Eorzea, of the Far East, of Thavnarian, children of this star united in common cause against a dire threat. Yet ere they succumbed to suicidal madness, were not the Telophoroi born of her body as were we? They who cling to life and the promise of the morrow's dawn, against they who desire death and an ending of their own orchestration. The victors of this war alone will hold the right to answer the question of existence, of its meaning, and its worth.
Poetic and ominous to a fault. That said, if it's an existential debate in nature, then our arguments might not be as persuasive as you'd think. Fandaniel wants to die and take everyone with him in an orgy of pain and suffering. An utterly vile and unforgivable idea. And yet, when spat upon by fate and wailing in the deepest pit of despair, who among us can say they have not entertained similar thoughts? There are nights black as pitch, bereft of hope, and no words of comfort can reach you. And it's all you can do to grit your teeth and choke back the bile.
The more you see and suffer life's injustices, the more difficult they become to bear. Vengeance is nurtured in similar soil. Though your anger has a broader focus, the sentiment is much the same. A fervent desire to destroy others, to see them drown in torment, as you have.
That about sums it up. The will to endure is not always as strong as the urge to burn it all down and salt the earth. Survival be damned. It's a struggle, often close and brutal.
Indeed. Well, I, for one, shall pray survival proveth more appealing in the end.
As will I. Besides, our chances are much improved when we've the company of others committed to the cause of life. Our vengeful dragoon here is proof of that. What is it? What did you see? Fandaniel, are you sure? If he knows we've been working on a countermeasure.
It holds. The vessel holds! This is the one!
At long last!
So, who's gonna be the test subject?
Look! We have finally created a talisman strong enough to withstand our experiments! We've named it a warding scale for the time being. With this in your possession, your soul should be completely shielded from corruptive ether.
Afforded such protection, any one of us may approach the towers without fear. Thou hast mine admiration. 'Tis an invention of historical significance.
I thank you for your kind words. But I would prefer you keep them unsaid until we test the talisman's efficacy in the field. It is for the next stage of our plan that we summoned you in the first place, to accompany me to the Tower of Zot. Should the scale prove effective, as I very much hope it will, then you'll have little to do. But should the effect be weaker than anticipated, I must ask that you restrain me, or knock me senseless.
I hope we have a Porksy on standby just in case. Oh, you need an ask.
Either way, we are fortunate to have you with us.
Nidana, are you certain you wish to do this?
Yeah, and that's a good point, Rooks. To get the NPCs working inside the dungeon instead of just players that are all protected by the Echo.
If others are to trust our creations, then we must have faith in them first. And as the senior researcher, it falls to me to lead by example. But should I fail to return, then learn what you can from this attempt and apply it to the next. Our work must continue. Is that clear?
We'll keep an eye on the place while you're away. Assuming Fandaniel is lurking about, there's no telling what mischief he has in mind for us, or you. Be on your guard.
Shall we be on our way? I'll have one of the soldiers at the hatchery prepare us a boat, and we can set out from the northern shore. I'll see you there.
Alright, so we need to make our way to the north. Kind of far. I'm surprised there wasn't an Aetheryte up there. Ah, there's another hunt target. Ah, Dread, get back out here. Oh, actually, I only needed to take one of them down. Oh well. That reminds me, did Hadrid's experience get adjusted? It did not. Okay. So that was the one thing that did not get reset to 0 then. This is a rather finer boat than I had expected, but I won't complain. All that remains is to board and be on our way. Oh, and if I should become corrupted, do not stay your hand. Of course, I pray it does not come to that, but you must protect yourself. Other alchemists can fulfill my role, but you and your blessing are one of a kind, and perhaps our only hope for toppling this tower. For all our sakes, do not hesitate to do what must be done, whatever that may be. Well, the longer I draw this out, the more nervous I become. Let's be off. Alright, let's head to the Tower of Zot.
We should soon cross the threshold of the tower's influence. Any moment now. It's working! And you are still yourself? Then I'd like to see how it fares closer to the tower if we could. So far, so good. The scale's protection appears to be holding. If we can just make it to the tower's entrance.
Might not want to go inside, though.
A few more steps. Praise be to the sisters, we made it! And the scale has proven itself to be everything we hoped it would be. Now we can focus on production. Once we've equipped and returned with an entire survey team, this menace will soon give up its secrets. What?
And they're about to be bound to the wall.
Oh, let me go! Oh, let me go! Oh!
Oh, do calm down. You'll only hurt yourself thrashing about like that.
Stop! Oh, you can't do this! Please!
A little late for heroics, I'm afraid. The similarities are striking. My! Such hostility! Never before has my artistry so displeased.
So are we gonna have a chance to go smashy smash here?
My patrons of old would have positively squealed in delight, though, between you and me, I find gushing praise exhausting.
What are you even talking about?
Allow me to tell you a story. Surely you've yet to hear the one about Van Daniel, the sundered Ascian. I inherited the position and the soul of the Van Daniel who sat on the convocation in the time of the final days, theoretically speaking. Practically speaking, that fact is of no consequence. I was born and lived as, well, me. Eventually, I was recruited into the Ascians and imbued with the former Van Daniel's knowledge and memories, but I never felt that they were truly a part of who I am. How to explain? Perhaps if I told you who I was before my Ascian embrace, although that chapter too is a past I've long since discarded. I have it on good authority you've poked your nose into an Allegan ruin or two. Yes? Then I expect you've heard of me. The old me.
Sandes? I have no idea. That's... I can't remember.
At your service.
Ah.
Imagine a nation of unbridled prosperity. Every need met, day after day of unbroken, unshakable peace. Existence fulfilled and ripe for decay.
You are a genius without peer, Amon. However do you conceive of such delightful experiments? That fool was beside himself with panic when he awoke with the head of a bull. Even his cries for help emerged as so much guttural lowing. Oh, the memory of it. My poor sides. My friends and I were so consumed by laughter we struggled to breathe.
No more than entertainment for bored wastrels ignorant of its worth. My all-consuming work. But it was not their only indulgence. For they were ever hungry for stimulation. Slaves to the slightest hint that amusement was afoot. Our nation was ailing, but I would see the poison purged. I resurrected a legend, our first and greatest emperor. And just as I had planned, he set our wayward empire back on the path of conquest.
I wasn't that far off.
Ambition carried us onwards, always onwards. Yet, he who delivered to us such glory was not to be satisfied.
Heed me, Armon. No matter how vast one's empire, or full one's treasure vault, all is rendered meaningless by death. In the end, all is lost.
You know as well as I that the Emperor stands to lose this war, and so I have come to claim you. For while your methods leave something to be desired, we cannot deny the results of your work. And as fortune would have it, the seat of Fandaniel, your rightful seat, lies vacant and waiting. Take your place amongst your peers, rather than die a pointless death amidst the ashes of your doomed nation. Send one of your clones to the Crystal Tower that you might see for yourself. See what lies ahead.
The fall of the Empire affirmed the truth, majestic and tragic, as the Emperor foresaw. Scheme as you like, build as you will, nothing endures. What is life but a brief jaunt ending in emptiness?
So easily distracted. Why, I almost left without saying farewell.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. He's gone Kefka. But once again, we're dealing with the Alligans, and it's sort of like, haven't we gotten enough of them already at this point? I mean, I suppose Emet-Selch was the one that set up that empire. I don't know. It just seems strange that Fandaniel would have come from them in the first place. After everything else that we've been dealing with, every single problem that we've been dealing with up to, it's... Aside from the Ascians and the Alligans, I mean, yeah, you still got some stuff from Gilmora and one or two other places, but primarily it's been like Allagan or Ascians, so I don't know. I guess I just would not have expected that to continue to have been so tied to all this here.
As for your friend, you needn't worry. These pawns are far more useful to me alive as fuel for the primates. If you attempt to pull them free, they will die. So, enjoy tackling that conundrum with your comrades. We shall meet again! Not in one of these minor spires, oh no, but somewhere more suitably grandiose. Your favorite playmate is ever so eager to see you.
Alright, well, at least we know that the thing worked. Granted, did we even think to grab the thing on the way out? I suppose we can always make more. Ah, you are returned, but where is Mistress Nidana? Wendell, I'm not seeing too many connections yet, but this is still really early in the story to be saying anything, to try to connect, PSO2, to it. Manus, Preserve. Just when we had succeeded in making the talisman. I must report this at once. Meanwhile, please return to the great work. But at the same time, this, the story here is basically going to be the accumulation of, or rather the ending to a story that's been ongoing for basically the last 10 years or so here, so. It'll be nice to see that finally come to an end. Well, something's gone awry, hasn't it? What happened? Yeah, I suppose there is that aspect, Rooks. They definitely have the same callousness as them. So it was Fandaniel after all. Damn that bastard. I'm sure you wanted to do more, but you were right to return here first. We must tread warily lest we endanger Nidhana and the other captives. First, we must inform everyone of the situation, Nidhana's colleagues included. I'll call them together for a gathering, but I think it would be best if you were the one to explain. Oh, Nidhana. Can you answer me this? Though Nidhana is trapped in the tower, she's still alive, yes? Then we must make warding scales, as many as we can. The prototype works perfectly. This Nidhana proved at peril to herself. So let us make more scales, that she and all those who were taken might be saved. Aye, as alchemists, this is how we will help win the fight. My friends, the satrap has been made aware of the tragedy. He offers his heartfelt condolences and reiterates his pledge to provide you with all that you require. To that end, he bade me give you this link pearl, that he might personally discuss the production of the warding scales with you. And for our Eorzean visitors, I bear an invitation. In her report, Mistress Nidhana noted your vital contributions to the talisman's creation. This fact came to the satrap's attention, and in recognition of your deeds, he wishes to meet you. In addition to thanking you in person, he would also discuss further avenues of collaboration. And if it is agreeable, will you not accompany me to Radz-at-Han for an audience with His Excellency? We should be honored, of course. Closer cooperation between our lands can only be to the benefit of all. Then it is settled. Please come to the gates east of the Giant's Gall grounds, and I will show you into the city. Yeah, Rooks, it's slightly similar, but what they're trying to do is definitely different. Fandaniel is just looking to kill everyone, while Shiva is just looking to remove all photons from the universe. She's not necessarily looking to end all life as it is. Or at least, that was sort of the feeling I got. I mean, she definitely wanted to destroy every record there was of, or everything that there was of the Photoners remaining. Oh hey, a level 90 hunt target. Wasn't expecting to see one of them so early. I'll give it a minute here to see if we get a group or not. Alright, Rooks, thanks for tuning in. Alright, I don't see a flood of people coming in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Have a good sleep there. All present? Then let us proceed. Owing to the threat of the tower, the city is currently in a state of high alert, and strict restrictions are in place for entry. Though you have been granted special permission, I ask that you remain close to me at all times.
A vast rock squats upon Thavnarian, and to its stony surface clings the city of Radz-at-Han. Ye who enter here are subject to the scrutiny of gods, the gate's most watchful eye. The orb which beholdeth the truth of all things. Pass beneath its hot and piercing gaze, bearing down like a second midday sun.
The fragrant haze, a mixture of sweet incense and acrid smoke. The cries of merchants mingled here with lively melodies accented by dancers' feet. Travelers seduced by vivid sound and colors were once swallowed up by patchwork streets. But no such scenes to savor now. To what somber present does that divine eye bear witness?
Here we are. Megadota. It seems a shame to bring you here directly. Under normal circumstances, it would have been my pleasure to show you the sights.
And it would have been our pleasure to see them. Alas, it seems our tour of the city will have to wait.
I'm afraid so. Come, we should head inside. Your Excellency, may I present our honored visitors?
Ah, splendid. Most splendid. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ahawan, satrap of Radz-at-Han. Our alchemists tell me your assistance was invaluable in the creation of the warding scale. Such deeds ought to be recognized in person. Thus did I have young Varshan convey you here forthwith. On behalf of my people, may I express to you our sincere gratitude.
But Nihana, she was taken.
A regrettable incident indeed. Her colleagues insist that we honor her wishes and trust in the talisman, that it will be instrumental in saving Nidana and the others. I am eager to hear your opinion on the matter, so let us not stand on ceremony. Come, sit.
I think not. This charade has gone on long enough. Show yourself.
Is Richa in human form or something?
Forgive me, but were you expecting musicians, perhaps? There are no performers waiting in the wings at present, but arrangements could be made if you'd prefer.
Nay, he hath the right of it. The time for artifice is past. Raise the curtain.
Ah, just behind the curtain then. Alright.
As you wish.
You travel as assistants to the students of Valdesian, but you are known to me. Even here have we heard of the scions of the Seventh Dawn. and for years uncounted hath this isle served as mine abode.
Vritra, of the first brood, sibling to Hraesvelga and Nidhogg.
Aye, mine elder brothers, of Midgardsormr's spawn. I was last to hatch.
Well, isn't this a surprise? We were told Radz-at-Han had an alliance with a dragon. Not that a great worm sat in the satrap's own hall.
A necessary subterfuge, as the true tale of our nation history illustrates most effectively. In the beginning, the rock upon which our city is built was home to Vitra, and Vitra alone. In time, the ancestors of the Matanga came to the island and established a foothold. But never did they dare disturb the worm's lair. Next to arrive were the Aura. Adopting the example of their Akasodra allies, they too treated Vitra with reverence and respect. And for many years, an understanding between our forefathers and the Great Worm endured. Until marauding heroes from the mainland came, threatening to shatter our peace and tranquility. When it seemed all would be drowned in blood, Vitra himself came forth and quelled the rising conflict. A peaceful accord was reached, and oaths sworn in Vitra's name. Thus began the dragon's governance of the fledgling state, which was to grow into Radz-at-Han.
But if Vritra is still here, then your position as satrap is just...
A charade, yes. And one which my family has performed faithfully for generations.
Many envy the great worms their power. Were it known that I ruled here, then the fires of war would burn without end. I would not be the flame which consumeth my people. Those few who joined me in laying our country's foundations were, perforce, sworn to secrecy.
It was a good idea to hide his identity.
Or
rather, to hide his presence.
It was taken.
"'Tis here, buried within the semblance of flesh. The body before thee is but a simulacrum, constructed by the finest artisans of Radz-at-Han. With mine eye nestled within, it doth serve as an inconspicuous vessel for my whim."
Interesting idea.
That would explain why I felt the presence of a dragon upon our first meeting.
I am woven with words fashioned to deceive such arcane senses. Though 'twas short-lived, it seemeth thy fusion with my brother hath left thee much altered, Estinian warm blood. From the very first, we sensed the nature of one another, yet did neither one of us bare his fangs. That is all I need know of thee for now.
With my secret thus revealed, I have for you a proposal. Not as a worm of the first brood, but as the ruler of Radz-at-Han. With all haste must we take in hand the finished talismans and breach this foul spire. Thence, should it lay within our power, dispel its wicked influence. Yet even with the assurance of the warding scales, the narrow confines of the tower doth limit the size of our force.
And thus denied strength in numbers, thou must choose thy soldiers with care.
Just so. Yet though our radiant host is formidable, I see a surer path before me. Thou and thy comrades have contended with a multitude of primal beings. Most recently, thou didst cast down false gods in Padelthan and Cartanau, I am told. 'Tis upon that strength I would call. The Scions have proven themselves the most capable, and I ask that you serve as the tip of our spear. Talismans would, of course, be provided for each of thy companions. And should you agree to this undertaking, more will be provided to make use of as you see fit.
There's no denying it's a dangerous proposition, but the rewards may far outweigh the risk. Just think of what we might accomplish if we could equip all our allies with warding scales. I worry, however, that even the 4 of us may be too few for what you have in mind. Might we regroup with our friends first to discuss the matter?
'Tis no trifling task that I have laid before you. Go, steel your hearts and hone your plans. Such time as you require shall be spent in crafting your protective charms.
It seems a quick trip back to Sharlayan is in order.
Wilt thou not lend thine aid?
Whether your request be made as a great worm or the ruler of Radz-at-Han, I see no reason to refuse, nor will I.
I am in thy debt.
All right. So we have indeed gotten the plan for the first trip inside Tower of Zot, or I guess the second one actually. Apparently we cannot get inside Radz-at-Han. So yeah, they definitely meant what they said. So. But once we are able to get inside there, though, there is definitely a network of Aethernet shards that we can pick up, including attuning to the Aethernet in town. That meeting took a rather unexpected turn, but we now have a clear objective ahead of us. Let us rejoin our comrades in Sharlayan and muster a suitable crew for our foray into the Tower of Zot. Oh, and if you haven't already done so, be sure to attune to the Aetherite here before departing. Unless, of course, you enjoy violent nausea. Okay. So then I guess Thancred means more the Aetherite all the way down there. Ooh, that is going to be a long walk back. Alright, so we need to head back over to Old Sharlayan then. To the Valdusian Annex. just as I was getting used to balmy Thavnarian, we're back in chilly Sharlayan. Take care not to catch your death, eh? We need you for the battles to come. Now then, your investigation here remains, but when that's over, we can take stock of all the developments and discoveries. Alright. And so with that, we now have to work towards the other path that we have yet to do, helping Kryl with her investigation. So let us make our way over to where we can find them. Which is going to be actually over to the west, it looks like. Before we do that, though, I don't think I saw that earlier, so I definitely want to pick it up now. Sights of the End. Because I was looking at my sightseeing log, and that had not expanded automatically, so I definitely want to pick that up, in case we happen to run across any of those spots. So... Scholar's Harbor. And let me go Bard so I can run around town a little quicker. Beg pardon, good sir. I could scarce help but notice that sightseeing log on your person. You wouldn't happen to be the adventurer my niece wrote about, would you? Ah, so it is you. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I am Bebeth Ironheart, Millith's aunt and seasoned explorer. Be a dear and hand me that log of yours. Millith told me all about how she helped you embark on explorations of your own. So it's only right that I share with you some wisdom of my own. Let me see here. Oh, I can't forget to mention that. And done. You should be all set, dear. I've jotted down everything I've heard about the most remarkable vistas the realm has to offer. Of course, a few notes I've shared are not but more than rumors. Some describing locals so fantastical that I can barely believe they exist. But as I always say, the true joy of exploration lies not in the destination, but in the journey. So go forth, dear, and see what sort of journey these hints take you on. That sightseeing log of yours won't fill itself, you know? Alright, Endwalker entries have been added to your sightseeing log. You must be level 80 or above to record Endwalker vistas, travel to the location indicated and fulfill the necessary conditions, and you will complete the entry for that vista, earning experience points in the process. Alright, with that, let's teleport back over to the main Aetheryte. And what do you know, there's one right there. For this, I'm actually going to switch over to Ninja. There we go. Looks like I'm going to have to redo some of my HUD here. Oh, and a piece of advice to everybody, as soon as you get up to Heaven's Ward, just go ahead and pick up Machinist, even if you don't plan to play that class, just so you get access to the Peloton button here, because that just helps you to move around town quicker than just sprint and then waiting for sprint to come back off of cooldown. Alright, Kryl. My directions were easy enough to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of Numenon, Sharlayan's grandest collection of books and tomes. This building is actually only an entrance, and one of many at that, for the archives of Numenon extend deep beneath the surface like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the Great Gooble Library pale in comparison to Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Sharlayan is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Y'shtola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alizé and Alphino will help me continue my search through the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Sharlayan history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you, a working knowledge of those subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they've found some promising tomes. Happy reading! Alright. This looks like another spot here. And indeed it was. Let's take a quick look at those here. So, Numenon, the pride of the studium and parent institution to the Great Gooble Library. This massive collection of scrolls and tomes is the largest of its kind. Knowledge from every corner of the world is collected here, and efforts to compile the Bibliotheca Historica, the ultimate repository of wisdom, is an endeavor without end. Kinda sounds like a certain foundation, doesn't it? This building houses the assembly hall where the forum debates Sharlayan national policy. Once a simple outdoor plaza, the rostra would ring with heated discussion through rain, wind, and worse. Following a death by lightning strike, however, plans were drawn up for the imposing stone structure, which now crowns Archon's design. Actually, no, going back to that in a moment, is that what they're really going for here? Are they going for Isaac Asimov? In terms of that? Foundation was a sci-fi series, originally in book form, recently actually released on a Apple TV Plus, which it's telling basically tells a story of, well, at least at first, the idea of a encyclopedia of knowledge that was designed to basically be housed at sort of the edge of the universe, while an empire was effectively going to go through a period of destruction and barbarism, and that knowledge would then be available once that period had ended in order to help rebuild the empire at that point. That's at least the base idea of it, but there's a lot more than that, and there's a lot of misleading stuff in that statement as well. I don't think... Well, actually... Are we dealing with a Sylvan plan here? I really have no idea. But that could explain what's going on here, actually. I don't know. I don't know if that's really what Yoshi P and his team were going for here. I guess we'll see as things continue. Anyway, let's start reading these books. Title on the spine reads The Story of Sharlayan. Long, long ago, on an island in the northern sea, there lived a Rogadin man by the name of Nunkref. Nunkref was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to the horror, the strangely and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Nunkref's crew hauled them aboard his ark. But the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only moments to spare, Nunkref wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Blafia's spine. Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside them, but it was not long before disputes over the dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Nunkref gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers, and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast, where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospered and grew, and in time it became the city of Sharlayan we live in to this day. Indeed, that ark. Let's see, world map. Urabania. And then the peaks. And then, I don't remember where it is specifically, but that ship is somewhere on this map where you can actually visit the thing. Oh, there it is, Nunkref's Hope. So, yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really nice touch that they threw that in this library, and then if you remembered it from back in Stormblood, you could just pull it up on the map here. And obviously the parallels to Noah's Ark are there as well. All right, Roads of Old, the Colony. Many years ago, on the banks of the Thaliak in the Divinian hinterlands, a Sharlayan colony once thrived. The settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th Astral Era. Scholars dispatched to Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a growing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Sharlayans. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Sharlayan colony. Eorzean residents took to calling the colony itself Sharlayan, which led to no small amount of confusion when discussions turned to the subject of the motherland. In response, some Sharlayan inhabitants, if pressed for a name, would simply refer to it as Emporium. Following the Great Exodus, however, goblins and treasure hunters claimed for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it yet another name, Idleshire. The following chapters go on to introduce the most prominent features of Idleshire. This book does not appear to contain additional information on the Forum, or cover the history of the Sharlayan motherland in greater detail. The voice of a growing city. In the years which followed the founding of Sharlayan, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The larger number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays of vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Sharlayan would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of a nationwide vote. Thus was the Forum, as we know it today, conceived and created. An introduction to the heavens. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained therein? I speak not of shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond, of the sun and the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think the dome above us to be a finite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar's depiction of a boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, this heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. There are few indeed who can explain, in satisfactory detail, why our own star is believed to revolve around the sun. It was the technologists of Alag who came closest to understanding the laws which govern the starry abyss. It was they who launched Dalamud and sought to expand beyond our earthbound existence. Having read of their ancient ambitions, I wonder, has your interest in this field of study waxed or waned? What if I were to tell you that the eternal constellations were arranged differently in the distant past? That their positions continue to shift almost imperceptibly, but measurably as we journey into the future? Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart, and may indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? Okay, that's, for me as a sci-fi nut, as well as somebody that likes to understand just the different possibilities of the future of the universe, that was a fun read to see in the game. This book is on the wrong subject. Search for works which contain details on the forum or mention the history of Sharlayan. Okay, what's this one gonna be? Forever 20 Summers. I'm guessing this is the fiction section I just landed in. My beloved seekers of knowledge, have you ever put learning before your health and neglected to feed and rest your body as you should? I too once engaged in such foolish practices, but one night, engrossed in philosophical study, I had an epiphany. For all the world's mystery that drive us to reckless abandon, we have so very few years of life in which to achieve our goals. Thus do I share you this mantra: I am forever 20 summers young. The number itself is unimportant. You could be 19 or 23 or 40, whatever age you are when you discover this manual, let that be the age you aspire to remain. Though mindful, healthy living, will you extend the time available to spend upon your chosen research? Another day, another moon, another summer, to grasp the greater truths you pursue. In the pages that follow, we will explore the secrets of maintaining one's physical condition from a biological, aetherological, and arcane viewpoint. And once again, a book on the wrong subject. What can I say? These are fun books to read, even if they're on the wrong subject. Stewards of Wisdom. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon Yunkref, founder of Sharlayan, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the northern empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Sharlayans took to heart the words of their savior, and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth in coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Sharlayan would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, and for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the tools of war, and with knowledge deliver the world. You've gained a fundamental understanding of Sharlayan history and the foundation of the Form. Head outside to the rendezvous point and await your companions. I don't think there were any other books in here. Sorry, were you waiting long? I wanted to make sure I had borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphino and Kral should be along shortly. I was delayed in similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mention the final day specifically, so we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare, and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the estate, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was always quite fond of reading outside. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and asked how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphino and I were to return to Sharlayan, we were not to be allowed access to be allowed across the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the Form will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. And what of you, Graha? Have you been to visit your family? Or do they not live here in the city? Ah, well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Sharlayan, yes, but I was born rather further away. In the southern reaches of Ilzabar, in fact. For generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavnarian. Oh, we saw that when we were there. I guess that's in an adjacent area then. The Alligans founded a city in that fertile land, and by ship, brought in the subjugated tribes of the Mikote to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the seas solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvos braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, that they might prevent the remnants of the Allagan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes. Some semblance of local culture remains, as is the cause for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Amonas. Was Koji Fox having fun with that one? Like, was that an intentional dig at Among Us? When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Allagan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allagan Eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Allag. As the last child born with the Allagan Eye, I was given over to the custody of friends in the students of Baldessian, who had me registered as a Sharlayan citizen. I never even considered. Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thancred was taken in by Archon Louisoix, was he not? Stories of adopted wives and rescued orphans are more common among Sharlayans than you might think. Yet regardless of our origins, we're all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity, we outsiders can even earn the vaunted title of Archon. This is exactly why I have such love for this country, and why I wish to remain a nation. Why I wish it to remain a nation of which its citizens can be proud. Hear, hear! Another good reason to get to the bottom of the forum's stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make some headway into these books, Prince. More company should be arriving any moment now. Wow, quite the lore jump we just got there about Grahatia. Alright, let us stand at the destination again. We've returned with our selections. Although I must say the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Kryl has already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters, and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the Umbral calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarat firsthand, and fear I may be overlooking critical details. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomena did the ancients encounter as the final days drew near? A complete destabilization of creation magics. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wrought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, these techniques were not preserved or passed on. Y'shtola surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Ascians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? I think it's the middle one. They say it began with a keening sound from the land itself. Ah, yes. The Amarotines spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes was preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually it resounded all across the star, and not even Amarot was spared. So the ground was crying out, you say. To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive, and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with one of Numenon's mammoths, and ask after any books which may make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take? They summoned Zodiark. Yes, with Elidibus serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiark brought salvation to the star, only that by his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients ordered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render unto Zodiark, a trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the Primal. Or might have, had Venat and her fellows not manifested their opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you. For the detailed review, I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telophoroi truly mean when they're speaking about bringing back the final days. My question becomes, are they going to take out Zodiark himself? I mean, Zodiark was created for a reason, and that was to stop the end of days. Or rather, to stop the final days. But if Zodiark gets killed, isn't that just going to restart things instantly? We've seen what they're doing with those towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech, a convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash? But this is all just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye out for Y'shtola, but 'tis time we began studying these research papers. Alright, once again... Oh, Alize, there are others better suited to poring over old history books, so I thought I'd try my luck with more recent events. If I can find anything to better inform the forum's baffling behavior. Alright, so once more we need to stand at the destination. I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended search of the Archon stacks produced one or two possibly useful books. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Urianger learned of the source's reflections from the Girun oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, the tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the Great Google Library. 'Tis even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Fortunal with knowledge of the Telophoroi and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know if the final days were truly upon us. Which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. A very heavy lore dump in this section here, that's for certain. You labor for what feels like an age as Y'shtola's research assistant. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a mammoth at the reference desk will point you in the right direction. For the moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Ready for a tea break, Prince? I know I am. Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around for a bit. You know the last stand down in the harbor, don't you? Come and meet me near the outside tables, and I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. Oh, cooldowns. I wish Sprint was just made an infinite thing while you were in town. As busy as ever, I see. How very Sharlayan that no other gourmet cafe has sprung up to compete for customers. Actually, this crowd gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions and gauge the mood of the city? I'm interested to hear what the average citizen has to say about the Telophoroi. We might even learn something new. Worth a try, don't you think? Alice is now accompanying you. And this is the same thing as before. Oh, also, I'm no longer level 80, so I need to update my earpiece here. What is it? Can a man not enjoy a moment of private respite? If you're looking to share a table, then I respectfully request that you look elsewhere. You misunderstand, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telorphoi. These enemies of peace have promised an end to all we hold dear, and... Wait, you're that House Levier girl, aren't you? And this man with you is obviously a foreigner. I've heard you were disowned for helping outsiders indulge their barbaric whims, and here you are giving truth to the rumor. I'll thank you to leave me be. I have naught to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. 'Twas foolish of me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come, Prince. Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Pray excuse the interruption, but were you hoping that... we were hoping you might share your thoughts on the Telorphoi and their unconscionable plans. My goodness, if it isn't the young Miss Levier! My apologies, but I work in the offices of the Forum, and if word reached Master Fortunault that I was helping you... I see. We're sorry to have bothered you. Welcome, sir. What can I offer you today? Wait, is that Mistress Alice I see there? My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Dickon, the owner of the Last Stand. I used to frequent his cafe on occasion, in between lessons at the studium. That seems like an age ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphino had set sail for Eorzea, but then you never came back. Lately there's been gossip about your father disowning the pair of you. Everything all right at home? It's complicated, and I hadn't expected complete strangers to be so familiar with our situation quite so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House Levier. No matter how discreet Master Fortunault may have been, news of your family's doings never stays secret for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now of all times? We have questions, and only Sharlayan has the answers. Tell me, Master Dickon, have you heard anything about an apocalypse called the Final Days? What, like the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid. And that's what you're here to find? Information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak with me. I wish there was more I could do to help. But mayhap there is. You're a visitor to Sharlayan, aren't you? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a server with none the wiser. We just finished preparing a few orders. Strike up some friendly conversation while you're setting down the food, and you might just get the right answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea. I hate to ask, but what do you think? I'll give it a try. That's the spirit. Pay attention now, and I'll explain what each of these dishes needs to go. Alright, I get the feeling I actually need to notate this here, so give me a second. Alright, tea set, chatty, group, water's edge. Omelette, Highlander, Gisla. And then Mikote. Oven baked lobster. Yeah, maybe the game would prevent me from giving them the wrong item, but I don't know. This seems like a special event that might pop up here. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask and I'll explain again. Good luck. So this would be the chatty group, so the tea set. Oh, my tea set. Lovely, thank you. The Talofa who? I'm sorry, I've never heard of them, or their final days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you wanted to hear about ritual arcane practices of the 6th Astral Era, common or esoteric, then I'd be happy to talk your ear off. Alright, for Gisla, the omelet. Ah, finally. 2468. Let's dig in, no time to waste. What? The Telophoroi? Ah, yes, I remember seeing the name in the latest Gazette. That and some grand claim about the end of days. Same old senseless warmongering. When will these fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood? Best to stay out of it, I say. The Forum made the right choice, and I fully support our decision to remain neutral. Alright. Only one thing left. Let's see. Just to make sure I'm looking at the right one here. Yes, that is indeed a Mikote. At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I've scrimped and saved and suffered to afford this heavenly dish. Final days? This is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain why my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must be a busy time to be a gleaner. You don't know what a gleaner is? They're collectors of a sort. Travel the world procuring things that we haven't gotten here in Sharlayan. Priceless books, unusual live specimens, and so forth. So named for those folk who trail after the reapers in the fields, picking up every grain which was missed. Aye, by all accounts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. If these Telophoroi make good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such a frenzy? Watch the harbor, and you'll see what I mean. They're carting loads in from the docks all day. It's never been this hectic before, not like this. Alright, so I think we have a destination to keep an eye out over. Any trouble with the customers? Were you able to get anyone talking? Interesting. they seem unaware of the final days, aside from whatever vague news the gazettes are printing. Even Dickon had nothing to offer, and he's the best source of gossip in the city. If the Forum does have secret knowledge, then they've done an impressive job of ensuring no one whispers it in the wrong ear. In any case, thank you for playing the part so well. Here, that cup of coffee I promised. But let's enjoy our drink somewhere else, shall we? Maybe behind the peristyle, away from the gossips and the wagging tongues. Ah, back there. Yes, this should do nicely. Out of the wind and out of sight.
When our father disowned us, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't until much later that his words began to sink in, that I began to feel the weight of what it meant. Do you remember when the decision was made to come to Sharlayan? Grahas said that the Forum was determined to keep us in the dark, and that Father's venomous performance was part of that strategy, to keep us at arm's length. Perhaps it was. Father argued with Grandfather on many occasions, but never with such dismissive contempt. And when he demanded what justifies the sacrifices we make in war, I honestly didn't know what to say. Neither did Alphino, I know, but never for one moment did I believe we had made the wrong choice. So all I could do was fume silently. It was only afterwards that I realized how childish I had been, how being stubborn and self-righteous must run in the family. If I could have just mustered a civil response, then things might have turned out differently. They must be ferrying goods to Labyrinthos.
Labyrinthos?
A vast complex beneath the island. Sharlayan is famous for archiving knowledge from around the world. Well, that knowledge is not preserved exclusively in dusty tomes and desiccated samples. Our living library, comprised of all manner of flora and fauna, is housed and studied within that underground facility. Still, that did seem to be an unusually large shipment. When I lived here, it was rare to even see such cargo transported by boat. Wait, didn't you hear something in the last stand about the gleaners coming and going more than usual? Well, I think they're the ones we saw manning those boats. And gleaners answer to the Forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi prompted this sudden burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the Forum is planning.
Alright, so it would seem to me that we need to break in to whatever this labyrinthos is in order to get an idea of just what the plan is here. So with that, at this point, I feel that I need to take a break here. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm feeling a little bit more tired than I was expecting today here. So I'm actually going to be calling it for the time being. I do plan to continue this a little bit later in the day, but for just the moment here, I don't know what it is. I gotta do something here before I fall asleep as I'm doing the stream here. So for now, let me say thank you for tuning in here. Not sure when I'm going to resume it, but I do plan to resume it at some point today. Hopefully in only just a few hours or so. But definitely keep an eye on either my Twitter or my YouTube page for when I go live. Also, of course, I'm going to announce it in my Discord as well. But with all that said, it's been a good start to Endwalker here, and I can't wait to see what else is coming here. With all that said, thank you for joining me today. This is PrinceBrightstar signing off. I'll catch you next time.